to opt out of having their children forced to read sexually explicit literature in public schools. One example is Toni Morrison's novel Beloved, which includes scenes of bestiality, gang rape, and the graphically described murder of an infant. Far from having the power to force their own views upon the world, parents who object to making books like this mandatory reading are plainly and irrefutably acting from a position of defense, not offense. Elsewhere, on the broader cultural front, a long-standing tradition of anti-religious satire, drama, and diatribe have been advancing the secularist critique for several centuries. From Voltaire's picaresque satire Candide, published in 1759, to Clarence Darrow's righteous drubbing of creationist William Jennings Bryan, as portrayed in 1960's Inherit the Wind, from Monty Python's Life of Brian to the musical The Book of Mormon, from wildly popular anti-Catholic classics like William of Orange's Apology, 1581, to the fraudulent, awful disclosures of Maria Monk, 1836, Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code, 2003, and Hilary Mantel's Wolf Hall, 2009. Churchgoers and their leaders have been laughingstocks in all the best places for a very long time now. In some, religious faith has been in retreat for several centuries. It has fought back, to be sure, and it fights back still. It has also known periods of intense revival, like the waves of Great Awakening between the early 18th and late 19th centuries in the United States, and the post-World War II boom in religiosity that enveloped most nations in the Western world, on account of which Christianity still retained tremendous social and political power right through the last century. But something new is in the air. The past 10 years in particular have delivered epical setbacks to men and women of faith, especially Christian faith, throughout the Western world. Two major cultural events can be blamed for this. One of these was the Catholic priest sex scandals that erupted in 2002 and continued to unfold for several years. This moral catastrophe, dubbed by Richard John Newhouse the Long Lent, that many Catholics and other Christians still experience in the present tense, dealt the moral authority of the Church a crippling blow, from which it has yet to recover fully even over a decade later, and even with a charismatic, maverick Pope Francis at the helm. The second of these events was 9/11. Once upon a time, atheism was a boutique phenomenon. Even in a nation with philosophical roots in the Enlightenment, most Americans were believers of some stripe, and even today, a majority profess some connection to God. Still, every village had its atheist, usually regarded as an eccentric or crank. Perhaps the most effective of these figures was Madalyn Murray O'Hair, the founder of American Atheists, and a single-minded crusader for stricter separation between church and state. O'Hair was the moving force behind the lawsuit Murray v. Curlett, which led to a Supreme Court ruling in 1963, Abington School District v. Schempp, ending school-sponsored Bible reading in American public schools. Another issue of pressing concern to atheists was the presence of the words, "One nation under God," in the Pledge of Allegiance. Atheists also campaigned, often successfully, to remove nativity scenes from town halls and public squares, leading to conservative claims of a secularist war on Christmas, as the slogan has it. For most of the decades of the culture wars, such issues did not engage the passions of the vast majority of Americans. But after 9/11, the formerly fringe concern about the overbearing presence of religion in American life entered a new phase of aggressive militancy. In retrospect, it's not hard to understand why. Fanatical Muslims had just flown airplanes into the World Trade Center based on their belief in violent jihad as a religious obligation, rewarded by the promise of sensual pleasures in paradise. This unspeakable act of violence, driven by beliefs most people found alien and abhorrent, gave rise to a reaction that was called the New Atheism. Thus, in the aftermath of 9/11,